You know the phrase, the check is in the mail? Well, this story gives all new meaning to it. These homeowners dropped their property tax payments in the mail as usual, and the checks were cashed right away, but not by the tax collector.
Mail theft is up 300% this year, but this isn't about stolen packages. It's about one piece of paper that can drain your life savings in 24 hours, a personal check. Criminals are stealing them straight from mailboxes, washing off the ink, rewriting the amount, cashing them before you even know they're gone. Banks aren't stopping it. The Postal Service can't keep up. And once the money's out, good luck getting it back. Today I'm exposing the washed check epidemic overwhelming the banking system and the exact steps to make sure you're never a victim. Stick around. This one trick has saved people from losing everything. Let's break this down. The illusion of safety, Todd's story. We have been trained to trust the blue box, that heavy steel U.S. Postal Service mailbox on the corner. It feels federal. It feels secure. You drop your tax payment in there, you hear the clunk, and you walk away thinking your duty is done. But for a man named Todd, a longtime Wells Fargo customer from California, that clunk was the sound of his financial ruin. Late last year, Todd did what millions of responsible Americans do. He wrote a check for $10,000 to the Internal Revenue Service. He didn't leave it in his personal mailbox with the red flag up. He knew that was risky. He drove to the post office. He walked inside. He mailed it from what he thought was the safest place on earth. Months later, the IRS sent him a letter. "Where is our money?" Todd logged into his Wells Fargo account. He saw the check had cleared. The amount was $10,000. But when he clicked on the image of the cashed check, his blood ran cold. The pay to the order of line didn't say United States Treasury. It said the name of a stranger who had walked into a bank, deposited Todd's money, and vanished. Todd rushed to Wells Fargo. He filed a fraud claim. He had the evidence. He had the police report. He was the victim of a federal crime. Wells Fargo denied his claim. Their reason? Todd had reported the fraud after the bank's 30-day reporting window had closed. Because he trusted the system, because he didn't check his statement every single day, Wells Fargo told him the loss was his problem. $10,000 gone. Todd isn't alone. He is just one casualty in a war that the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network says involves over $688 million in suspicious check transactions in just a 6-month period. This isn't high-tech hacking, it's low-tech chemistry. In a matter of minutes, a $50 check becomes a $5,000 blank canvas, and your signature is the only thing they leave untouched. The mechanics of the wash, a chemical breakdown. To understand why this is happening, you have to understand the mechanism. Phase 1, the fishing expedition. Criminals are no longer smashing mailboxes with baseball bats. They are buying arrow keys on the black market. These are universal keys that open every blue mailbox in a specific zip code. A single stolen arrow key can sell for $5,000 to $10,000 on Telegram. Alternatively, they use sticky traps. They tie a string to a glue-covered rat trap or a weighted bottle covered in adhesive. They lower it into the mailbox slot at 2 a.m. They pull it up, and attached to it are your letters, your bills, your checks. Phase 2, the chemical bath. Once they have your check, they don't cash it immediately. They take it to a lab, usually a motel room or a basement. They submerge your check in a tray filled with a specific solvent. The most common is simple acetone, nail polish remover. Here's the terrifying part. Standard ballpoint pen ink is oil-based. Acetone dissolves the oil. The ink lifts off the paper like magic. But the check itself? The paper is printed with fugitive ink, designed to bleed if tampered with. But sophisticated washers know exactly how long to soak it, so the security features remain intact while your handwriting dissolves. In 5 minutes, they have a blank check, but it still has your signature. They usually leave your signature untouched because that is what the bank verifies. Phase 3, the cook. Now they have a signed, blank check from your account. They can write it out to anyone. They can change the amount from $50 to $5,000. But the modern criminal goes a step further. They don't just use the physical check, they scan it. They use Photoshop to create a perfect digital replica. They change the payee, they change the amount, they print it onto high-quality check stock. Now they don't have one check, they have a template. They can print 50 checks with your account number and your routing number. This is called check cooking. You might be wondering, don't banks check ID? This is where the walker comes in. Criminals know that if they walk into a Wells Fargo with a stolen check, they might get caught on camera, so they don't go. They do something else entirely. The Walker economy. Why banks can't stop it. What do these criminals do? They go to Telegram. They go to the homeless encampments. They go to areas with high drug addiction rates. They recruit people known as walkers. A walker is a disposable human mule. The criminal gives the walker a washed check made out to a fake name and a fake ID matching that name. The criminal tells the walker, "Go into the branch, cash this for $4,000, keep $200 for yourself, bring me the rest." If the walker gets caught, the criminal is miles away. If the walker succeeds, the criminal gets the cash. We are seeing a massive surge in walkers being recruited specifically because they are elderly or disabled, people who look trustworthy to a bank teller. You still have the physical check in your records. Your landscaper got paid. But 3 days later, a duplicate check for thousands of dollars clears your account. Why is this digital ghost of your real check even harder to detect and fight? Come with me. The glass check nightmare. There is a mutation of this fraud that is even harder to detect. It's called the glass check. In this scenario, you write a check to your landscaper. He deposits it honestly, but a hacker has compromised the landscaper's email or the check processing company he uses. The hacker gets a digital image of your valid check. They don't need the paper. They take that digital image, use software to remove the handwriting, and sell the clean digital file on the dark web. A criminal in another state buys your digital check file. They print it. They deposit it via mobile deposit, snapping a picture. You still have the physical check in your records. Your landscaper got paid. But 3 days later, a duplicate check for $2,500 clears your account. When you call Wells Fargo, they say, "We have an image of the check. It's signed by you. It looks real." Because it is real. It's a digital ghost of your real check, weaponized against you. The money doesn't just vanish into thin air, it has to land somewhere. But there's one more question you should be asking. How are criminals recruiting innocent people to be their financial shield? The drop account ecosystem, where the money goes. It is critical to understand that the money stolen from your account does not just vanish into thin air. It has to land somewhere. The walker cashing the check is only one method. The more sophisticated, higher volume method involves drop accounts or mule accounts. This is a massive underground economy that preys on teenagers, college students, and romance scam victims. Here is how it works. A criminal goes on Instagram or Snapchat. They post photos of cash, luxury cars, and lifestyle shots. They post a story saying, "Who has a Wells Fargo or Chase account and wants to make $2,000 today? DM me." Legit work. A college student struggling with tuition sends a DM. The criminal says, "I have a check from my business client, but my account is frozen. If I deposit it into your account, can you withdraw the cash for me? You keep $2,000, give me the rest." The student agrees. They provide their login credentials or their debit card PIN. The criminal deposits the washed check, let's say it's your check, washed to be $15,000, into the student's account via mobile deposit. Wells Fargo sees a check. The system makes some funds available immediately. The student sees the balance go up. They withdraw the cash or buy crypto and send it to the criminal. 3 days later, the check bounces or is flagged as fraudulent. The money is gone. The criminal is gone. Your account is empty. And the student? They are now liable for the negative balance and potentially facing criminal charges for being an accomplice. This drop account system allows criminals to process millions of dollars without ever using their own identity. And because the banks are opening accounts digitally with very little friction to compete for new customers, the supply of drop accounts is endless. The sheer volume of check fraud cannot be explained solely by mail theft. The most dangerous scams are perfectly tailored to mimic your own behavior. Who is compromising your account from the inside, and what highly prized information are they selling to the criminals? The insider threat, when the call is coming from inside the house. We need to address the elephant in the room. The sheer volume of check fraud currently happening, billions of dollars, cannot be explained solely by mail theft. There is an inside job component that banks are terrified to discuss publicly. Telegram channels specifically dedicated to fraud often have listings that say, "Looking for Wells Fargo Insider, high pay." What are they buying? They are buying access to your account balance and your signature. If a criminal has stolen your check, they don't know if you have $500 or $500,000 in your account. Writing a check for $9,000 on an account with $200 balance is a waste of time and risks alerting the authorities. So, they pay a compromised bank employee, a teller, or a back office support agent to look up your account. By knowing the next check number and the balance, the criminal creates a fraudulent check that fits perfectly into your spending pattern. It doesn't trigger the anomalous activity algorithms because it looks like a normal sequence. This is why even vigilant customers get hit. The fraud is tailored to mimic their behavior perfectly using inside information. The desperation for the universal keys that open blue mailboxes has turned postal delivery into one of the most dangerous jobs in America. What makes the arrow key so valuable on the black market that criminals are now holding mail carriers at gunpoint? You'll be shocked. The violence against mail carriers. The desperation for arrow keys, the universal keys that open blue mailboxes, has turned postal delivery into one of the most dangerous jobs in America. Criminals are no longer just sneaking up to mailboxes, they are holding up mail carriers at gunpoint. In Chicago, mail carriers have been shot. In the Bay Area, there were armed robberies of mail carriers reported almost weekly at the height of the surge. The United States Postal Inspection Service, USPIS, is federal law enforcement. They are armed, they are serious, but they are overwhelmed. There are over 30,000 post offices and hundreds of thousands of carriers. When you put a check in the mail, you are inserting it into a system that is currently under violent siege. The arrow key sells for $5,000 on the black market because it is the skeleton key to the nation's financial mail. Once a criminal has an arrow key, they own that zip code. Every blue box, every apartment complex cluster box, every business park mailbox is open to them. They can empty them every night for months before the key is reported or the lock is changed. The next part is the part that enrages victims. You assume that if a check is forged, the bank must pay you back. You're so wrong. Why Wells Fargo denies your refund. The legal loopholes under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, banks are generally liable for paying on a forged signature. However, there are massive loopholes that Wells Fargo and other major banks exploit ruthlessly. It's called UCC 4406, Customer's Duty to Discover and Report. The law says you have a duty to examine your bank statement with reasonable promptness. If you don't report the fraud within a specific window, often 30 days per the bank's deposit agreement, even if the law allows for up to a year, the bank can shift the liability to you. They argue, if you had looked at your statement on day 2, you could have stopped us from paying the subsequent checks on day 5. Because you waited 40 days, your negligence contributed to the loss. This is exactly what happened to Todd. He trusted the system. He waited for the IRS to tell him the check was missing. By the time he knew, the 30-day clock had run out. Furthermore, there is the midnight deadline rule. When a check is deposited, the bank that received it, the depository bank, sends it to your bank, the paying bank. Your bank has until midnight of the next banking day to decide if the check is fake. Midnight. Just one day. If their automated machines don't catch the forgery, and they rarely do because the signature is real, remember they only wash the payee, the payment becomes final. Once the payment is final, getting the money back becomes a war between banks. Wells Fargo has to ask the other bank to return the funds. The other bank says, "No, you missed the deadline." Wells Fargo then turns to you and says, "Sorry, claim denied." This midnight deadline was created in an era before high-speed digital fraud. It was meant to keep commerce moving. Now, it is a trap door that allows banks to finalize fraudulent payments before the victim has even woken up the next morning. When you realize your money is gone, your first instinct is to call the police. But here is the catch-22 that victims face. Can you guess what it is? The police report trap. You go to your local police station. You say, "Someone stole a check I mailed and cashed it." The police officer asks, "Where was it cashed?" You say, "I don't know, the bank statement just shows an image. It could have been cashed in Miami or New York or online." The police often refuse to take the report. They say, "If the crime didn't happen in our jurisdiction, we can't file a report. You need to file it where the check was cashed." But the bank won't tell you exactly where it was cashed without a subpoena. And you can't get a subpoena without a police report. This bureaucratic loop leaves thousands of victims stranded. Without a police report, Wells Fargo can deny the fraud claim, saying there is no official record of the crime. If you find yourself in this situation, you must insist on filing a report for identity theft or theft occurring at your residence where the check was stolen from your possession or mailed. Do not leave the station without a report number. The bank needs that number to process anything. We mentioned check cooking earlier, but the technology available now is terrifying. You can do anything. The rise of check cooking software. On the dark web, you can buy software specifically designed for this. It isn't just Photoshop, it is specialized software that comes with templates for every major bank. Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, Citi. The criminal inputs the numbers from your stolen check, The software automatically generates a barcode that scans correctly. It generates the magnetic MyCR line, the numbers at the bottom, perfectly spaced so the bank's reader doesn't reject it. They can print these on check stock paper bought legally at Office Depot or Staples. The result is a counterfeit check that is technically perfect. It feels right, it scans right. The only thing fake is the authorization. Because the check passes the automated MyCR read, human eyes never look at it until you complain. And by then, as we know, it is often too late.
I was out $10,000.
Well, Juana Poxicon had $5,000 taken from her Wells Fargo account.
But there's more. You have to know ways to defend yourself against what's coming. The defense strategy. How to bulletproof your checking account. If you want to survive this wave of fraud, you need to change your behavior today, and here is the step-by-step way to do that. Rule 1. The Uniball 207 rule. If you must write a check, you must use a specific type of pen. You need a gel pen with pigment-based ink. The gold standard is the Uniball 207. Standard ballpoint ink sits on top of the paper fibers. It dissolves in acetone. Pigment-based gel ink, like in the 207, binds into the paper fibers. If a criminal tries to wash a check written with a Uniball 207, the ink stays, but the check background gets ruined. It makes the check worthless to them. Throw away every free ballpoint pen you got from a hotel or a conference. Buy a box of Uniball 207s. Rule 2. Never use the blue box. Do not drop checks in the street-side mailboxes. Do not put checks in your home mailbox with the flag up. If you are mailing a check, walk it inside the post office and slide it into the slot inside the lobby. This bypasses the arrow key theft vector. Rule 3. Switch to positive pay for business owners. If you run a business and write checks, call Wells Fargo and demand positive pay. Here's how it works. You send the bank a digital list of every check you wrote that day. Check number, amount, payee. When a check is presented for payment, the bank's computer compares it to your list. If the dollar amount or check number doesn't match, it is automatically rejected. There is often a fee for this, but compared to losing $20,000, it is cheap insurance. Rule 4. Daily monitoring, the 24-hour rule. You cannot wait for your monthly statement. You must log into the Wells Fargo app every morning. Look at your posted transactions. If you see a check clear, click the image. Verify the payee. If the name is wrong, call the bank immediately. If you catch it within 24 hours, the midnight deadline hasn't passed, and the bank can return the check legally. Rule 5. The bill pay option. Stop writing checks to utility companies or credit cards. Use your bank's online bill pay feature. When you use bill pay, the bank often sends an electronic transfer, not a paper check. Even if they do mail a check, if that check is stolen and washed, the liability is much clearly on the bank because they created and mailed the check, not you. Rule 6. Freeze your credit. This doesn't stop check fraud, but it stops the secondary attack. Often check washers find your personal info on the check, name, address, and use it to open new credit cards in your name. Go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Freeze everything. The hard truth: Wells Fargo and other major banks are closing branches. They are firing support staff. They are relying on AI to detect fraud. But the criminals are using human intelligence. They are using chemistry. They are using the physical flaws of a paper system designed in the 1950s. The Todd story is a warning. He did everything he thought was right. He lost $10,000. Don't be Todd. Buy the gel pens, walk inside the post office, or better yet, put the checkbook in the shredder and never look back. If you have been a victim of check washing or had a claim denied by Wells Fargo, tell us your story in the comments. The more we document this, the harder it is for them to ignore. Subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm investigating the new Zelle business account scam next week, and you won't believe how easy it is to fall for. There is a video on your screen right now that will teach you how to stay ahead of these scams. Click it now on the left, and I'll meet you there. Till then, stay safe and watch your accounts.